Welcome back. When I came in the morning, it was pretty cold, but I'm now literally sweating because of the contributions by this eloquent gentleman, Mheshimiwa Jonathan Mweke, Deputy Governor, Nairobi County, Mheshimiwa Yusuf Hassan, Member of Parliament, Kamukunji, who actually has the ticket to go for another take.
After a big struggle.
Of course, most
but I'm happy he survived.
But
he's a good man.
He was even wrestled to the ground.
That was not during the nomination.
Yeah, you know, Charles, some guy was told to go and beat Kaluma in the elections. And he came for my person literally with punches. Of course, in the elections, the people told him their love for Kaluma. He got, you know...
And of course, Mheshimiwa Peter Kaluma. As we speak now, because of these bruising battles, almost 70% of your colleagues are not coming back to Parliament. That is what we will be tackling next. Before we took the break, I posed a question. Should the Jubilee government resolve this food prices issue? It's been a pet subject for NASA everywhere you people go. Everywhere, including during the delegates conference for ODM at Kasarani the other day. What next?
You see, to NASA, it was never a campaign issue. It was a matter of, you know, telling the administration in place that conditions are unbearable, conditions are insufferable for our people to intervene. And we knew it takes them to intervene. The thinking of Jubilee...
It was a campaign issue because you are using it to make the government look bad.
No, not certainly.
Absolutely.
As opposition, we are leaders.
It is an opportunistic...
If people are suffering, there is nothing opportunistic about it. When people die in the northern frontier, the arid and semi-arid areas in the way they were dying, really, you cannot keep quiet if you are a leader, you know, worth, you know, that title. When it reaches a level where drought is bringing animals, cows, even wildlife, you know, down in the manner they were coming out, I think it would be cynical, you know,
to keep quiet.
To imagine that as opposition, we were to keep quiet. And more so, the misfortune or what brings, you know, a political perspective to it is that, you know, these things are happening because of, you know, policy and policy implementation failures on the part of government.
Including the drought?
Certainly. I mean, we have irrigation.
Absolutely.
We have irrigation. We have, you know, water falling. Nairobi is being flooded every, you know, downpour. You don't know how to...
I'm a bit confused, Mheshimiwa. You will clear this. Just help, just a minute. Just help me understand.
Yes.
1 minute, water is devolved. The national government should not touch water. They're even using 30 billion to put up dams. The next minute, drought, animals are suffering because of policy issues by the national government. So which is which?
Yes, the policy issue is that the national government's appetite to retain money is keeping money away from where it should be. It is as simple as that. Send the money down so that the people can prioritize their needs and go for the basics instead of telling us this grandiose
or excavate dams,
yes,
so that animals
dams and do all that.
Which they have been doing.
They can do it.
They have been doing.
Not at the cost. You see the national government taking all 38 billion on one dam.
I'm amazed.
Another 38 billion in one dam.
I'm amazed.
I mean,
you
know, Charles,
now blames climate change and drought on the government of the day. He simply doesn't have any other ideas.
What can you do with 38 billion?
That's more than the budget of Nairobi.
Buy medical
they
equipment
are doing
for
one
hospitals.
in Elgeyo Marakwet at 60 billion a year. I mean, we are mad. You're just looting.
That's twice the budget of Nairobi.
It is entrepreneuring. so let me leave that. The question you asked to send was not to send. I mean, Charles, it's very simple. What happens after, you know, the food issue is dealt with? And what I want to say is that, you know, the president and his Jubilee team are hoping that Kenyans, you know, are as forgetful as they are. I want to tell him and Jubilee that Kenyans will never forget how they came to where they were and the participation of Jubilee in it. Either way, Jubilee still has to go home for the reasons I'd explained previously. It is going home.
Which are?
The Jubilee administration is doing business with the state. The Jubilee administration is retaining monies which should otherwise be devolved to execute functions.
If my memory serves me right, Mheshimiwa, when the Parliamentary Accounts Committee was investigating the NYS scandal, for example, a number of people in the opposition were tagged on this. They are doing business with the state. So what is going to be different when they get to government?
And what are the county government in his own region doing? The county government in Homa Bay is doing business in a very corrupt way. The county government in Kisumu is doing exactly the same things he's actually accusing of the government. And therefore, to a certain extent, what he's showing is the failure of the same forces he wants us to give more money to, the county government that are failing in their duties.
What Yusuf is telling you is that Kaluma let the national government do business and eat.
Because the county government is
county government.
No, but I'm just saying that he's not looking
I'm saying
at the problem in his own local...
At the level of leadership.
Yes.
And remember, we are talking about county governments.
Yeah.
Let us be honest. In a budget of 2.6 trillion, how much is going to the devolved units? 300 billion. 2.3 trillion is with the national government, including monies which should go down for functions, which are central to the people down there. This is what we are talking about. So that in as much as, Yusuf advocates for a situation where the national government continues to eat, we are saying reduce the amount you can eat from, take more down there to do a few things.
So that the people down there can also eat more.
And cannot eat more, but there can be services, even as we control eating at both levels of government. That is my policy.
What do you think is going to be the next course for NASA should the Jubilee government resolve the issue of food prices?
The way the Jubilee government has been structured is because they survive on some of these business dealings they're doing. Something new always comes up. And I'll give you a history. I hear Jubilee saying that opposition, or Yusuf Hassan saying opposition has no solution, I'll tell you, we can't have solutions because we are not in government. Our job as opposition is to cause the solutions to happen. And we've been consistent. We started with the security issues that were there with, remember Otieno Kajwang saying bomb, bomb, bomb everywhere. The late, may God rest his soul in eternal peace. And we pushed the government at that point until they had to change the entire security apparatus. They fired the security minister, they fired the police commissioner, they fired the deputy police commissioner. That was a solution.
And
that
they got security equipment.
Correct. That was a solution that was driven by opposition. If not for that, Ole Lenku would still be in office and would still be having bombs everywhere. After that, we went to Okoa, Kenya. And you saw how we fought that until they went and drew cows and rhinos as our signatures and they defeated that. After that, we said we needed free and fair elections. We went to IEBC and we pushed it. We went to the streets as an opposition until we got a solution, a new commission. And then after that, we went to the NYS scam. We went to the youth fund scam and we shouted about it. And we said, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Until the super minister Waiguru got fired, until Bruce Odhiambo, a good friend of the system, got fired, and order was restored. That's solutions being brought by the opposition. So forcing the government to bring opposition. So now we are saying there's food prices. We as the opposition care about Kenyans very deeply. And we want unga to go down. And we are praying that this week,
they find a
the
solution.
tyranny of numbers in Jubilee find a solution to bring
begin
to bring the food prices down so that our people stop starving. And we'll sit down and we'll say that is a solution that was driven by opposition.
So you will come up with another
Well, we won't come up. We'll have to wait for Jubilee to do something else that will mess us up. Then we'll shout about it until we bring a solution to our people.
I think I think the opposition is just rhetoric, mdomo.
What else would they do?
Yeah, they have what the Kenyan public is looking at. They know what Jubilee has done. They know the economic record of the Jubilee government. They know what we have done in terms of development agenda. Enormous achievements at every level. Now, what the Kenya public want to know is what does the opposition offer in return to be able to be elected? And there is absolutely none to show for it.
What can the opposition offer?
The opposition does not offer a new agenda. It does not have an alternative agenda to take this country to a different direction. What it is criticizing are some of the shortcomings of any government in power. When you're in power for 4 or 5 years, you certainly have certain limitations. But on the overall record of this government, in terms of development, in terms of roads, in terms of health, in terms of infrastructure, the Kenyan public can see that with their own eyes, can hear it with their own ears. What is lacking now here is an opposition that can challenge us in significant numbers to be able to achieve a change in this society. And there is none at the moment. The latest thing that they have hooked onto is food prices. And we are responding as a government. The president has already said that we need to act on it. Parliament is going to meet over it. And that is the big question.
And because you have the numbers, a solution will be found.
If we're able to help reduce the cost of living, what else would they want? Nothing.
My question is, what is the role of the opposition?
The role of the opposition is not only to criticize the government.
So criticizing the government is one of their roles?
It's one easy bit. The other bit is to be able to come with alternative policies. They're saying the government is not doing this or that. Let them come with very concrete policies to say, if you elect us, this is the direction we're going to take this country. And this is what we're going to do as an alternative.
Mheshimiwa Kaluma mentioned some 7 pillars.
There's absolutely none of that. What they have done recently in NASA is to give themselves positions.
So if you were to rate, 1 minute, just on this.
Let me answer you. You have given them the chance. You have given them the chance to speak. Let me speak. 2 of them have been...
it's okay, Mheshimiwa.
Let me have a chance.
If you had a chance to rate them on criticizing the government, out of 10, what would you do?
It is easy to criticize. Let me say now what they have come up with. They've come up with an alternative leadership in which they're going to create positions. The Kenya public can already know that the cost of living is going to go up if they were to win. First of all, they would have the presidency, the deputy presidency, which is constitutional. Then they're going to create positions for the entire opposition leadership. They have to create a position for Mudavadi. They have to create a position for Wetangula. They have to create a position for Isaac Ruto. And the Kenyan public are already asking, who is going to fund that cost of wages? We're already suffering from a very high wage bill. Come next August, and you have this opposition lining itself as the alternative government. Who is going to pay for this cost of having these positions for the NASA elite, you know? That is going to be a very costly government. And already the Kenyan public is feeling the pinch in terms of the cost of living. Why would they want to elect an opposition that would lord itself over in all these positions in government? And the wage bill, which is at 50% now, would go maybe to 60 or 70%.
Charles,
is that the kind of opposition we want?
No.
The Achilles tendon you have here is you people are crafting yourselves around the agenda of sharing positions.
Charles, I want to invite Yusuf to look at Article 10 of the Constitution when he lives here. Politics is about searching for power. And if you look at Article 10, it talks to the issue of our national values and principles of governance. By the way, you'll get something called
for the boys. Is that the
devolution and sharing of power in Article 10, sub-Article 2. Devolution and sharing of power. And what we are saying as the opposition is not to create new positions. We have the position called president under the Constitution. We have the position of a co-president. That is why we moved from vice to deputy president. Remember, by delegation, or when the president is away, the deputy president is the president. You don't need that drama, you know, President Uhuru was engaging in when going to ICC. Whether or not he did it, Ruto was to be the president when he's out of the borders of this country, or by delegation. So Kalonzo is going to be the co-president. Then we have cabinet secretaries' positions. And I want you to look at the Constitution coming from Article 130 to 142. It is within the powers vested in the president to establish ministries, to give them the names, you know, it feels like.
That's the executive order.
In terms of NASA, we have said we are going to be consultative in the manner we create ministries, and to give them functions. So let me clarify it to Yusuf. There is nothing stopping, you know, Uhuru Kenyatta from creating a prime minister's position if he is in good faith and he wants it. And I'm saying it is better to have so many people spread thin. Remember, we can create up to 22 ministries. What we are saying is that we will reduce these positions from 22, the ministries, to 19. And remember, these are not positions we are saying will go to Isaac Ruto. These are not the positions going to Wetangula. These are not the positions going to Musalia Mudavadi. That is why Wetangula is running for the position of Senate in Bungoma. Isaac Ruto is running for governor.
Somebody says it's because maybe he senses NASA will not take power.
No,
yes, exactly.
Those are the propaganda.
Insurance policy.
What we are saying is that we have a coalition. And in this coalition, we must have an arrangement that entitles parties, whatever and whoever their membership they designate for these positions, to particular, you know, sharing of power. And this sharing of power, Yusuf, let me tell you, don't croak horse over it. You remember before we agreed on the flag bearer, it was the issue of, oh, they can't agree. When we agree, they are telling us how to structure our government. We are going to share power, and it is a major issue. I said we will share it vertically up to the person sweeping the floors, and we'll share it horizontally across. Let power be felt, for it is better to share that power in the way we are proposing. It is more equitable than having some two people shouting to us how they are eating and others are starving outside there. But in terms of policy, you know, Charles, people have said that we are merely criticizing. We don't have solutions. Remember, we have thought through. In coming with the 7-point principles and ideals that are going to undergird our functioning as a government when we form government, because government we must form, I can tell you. We looked at the problems facing the country. We identified them. They were not things we just decided to choose as against every other thing. And we said, there is a problem with inclusivity and negative ethnicity. It is an issue. Can we agree on how all Kenyans are going to be there? There is a problem with the leadership of the country from up to down, trading with governments. And let me tell you, Yusuf, on this I agree with you. Even some county, you know, governments are trading with their governments down there. We are saying if you are in leadership, you are going to have to keep off trading with the lives of your people, with the governance of your people. We have said corruption is taking so much, and in fact is increasing the cost at which, you know, we are getting services done. You know, the standard gauge railway. I mean, are we getting value for the over 600 billion now proposed? You know the cost at which we are tendering, you know, public, you know, facilities and the road contracts and everything. Can we do them at lower rates? So corruption has to be dealt with. The problem we have, Charles, is that we fight so hard to remove people like, you know, Waiguru. You see them now being made governors. You push so hard to move the nation forward. This Jubilee, you know, administration is regressing you. We have talked to the issue of, you know, being disinterested in government business. We have talked to all these governance issues. How do we, you know, get them executed? And I would request Yusuf, it may be very easy to shout, we are criticizing. By the way, that is our work. And as we approach campaigns, we are going to do more of it.
99% of
yes, we are going to do a lot of it. If it betters the society when we reveal the problems the society is faced with, we are going to do it. But look at those 7 principles. And let me tell you, Yusuf, a matter of food prices, it's a matter of life and death. Please listen to the you know, suggestions in terms of solutions I'm profiling, instead of thinking it is a mere political issue. When people die, it is not votes being lost. It is lives of real human beings, you know, being lost in an indignified way. Let us deal with this thing. Let us, you know, think of solutions, devolve monies. And that is why our 4th principle is to say we will take over 45% of the national budget to the county so that they can prioritize based on their unit.
Fair enough, Mheshimiwa. Jonathan.
Yeah, let me just contribute to that, because there's been this whole issue that we don't have an agenda, Do you? Yes, the 7 principles, and I just wanted to say them very clearly. The first one is national reconciliation and healing, that inclusivity that Mheshimiwa Kaluma was talking about. The second one was resolving historical injustices. We have promised that we are going to implement the TJRC report so that we don't see the kind of conflict that we are seeing in the pastoralists places right now, with ranches being invaded and all of that.
So that's absolute. You're going to implement the TJRC report.
Correct, yes. The third pillar is realizing equity of women, youth, and persons with disability. We understand that these are marginalized people within our communities, especially the young people who form the majority of this country, and we're going to ensure that we fix things like unemployment. That's very big for them. The 4th pillar is strengthening devolution. Very clear, 45% of all the last years, not now that the Jubilee government is doing 4 years ago.
So not audited?
Audited accounts. Last year's
audited accounts.
The only reason why we don't audit them quickly now is because tyranny of numbers, so it takes it so long for them to be audited. The 5th pillar is transforming government, instituting responsible and servant leadership. We are not going to say, tunakula nyama na nyinyi mukule, meze mate. Yeah, we are going to be servant leadership and do the things that the people on the ground need to get done. The 6th pillar is realizing social and economic rights as enshrined in Article 43 of the Constitution.
This is a shopping list.
Water, healthcare,
wish list.
education, housing, environment, and so on and so forth. And then the last pillar, which is the seventh pillar, is eradicating poverty and unemployment, dealing with some of these issues that you're seeing right now that have made inflation go up.
So those are the things that NASA wishes to do to Kenyans.
Complete.
Shopping list, you call it?
This is a wish list.
Now maybe Jubilee can tell us what are theirs.
This is a wish list. Jubilee has had a very concrete, practical.
What are they?
It's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
Just give him time.
In terms of development, it was spelled out in our manifesto in 2013, and we were elected on that manifesto, and we have implemented to a greater extent almost most of it.
But some you have not.
Yes, of course. In any 4 or 5 year window of opportunity in government, there are certain things, even in the most advanced countries where they have the resources, where you cannot implement. There's no party that fulfills 100% of its manifesto because of various factors. For example, like the drought recently has affected our economic growth and our ability to be able to achieve some of the things that we've wanted to do. But overall, we have done much better than the opposition in meeting our manifesto plans.
But the opposition's manifesto was, if they come to power,
yes,
they are not in power. How are they supposed to implement their manifesto?
But in fact, if you look at what the opposition is doing at the moment,
Because if you say that, it's like the opposition is the Jua government.
no,
The government on the side.
no, but we have devolved government. If the opposition, I am, for example,
Which you've denied money.
a member of the Nairobi government in that sense. I am in the opposition because it is ODM, it is CORD which is in power.
I think, Charles,
What
you
I
can see the
wanted to
difference.
ask,
It's okay, it's
what
okay.
I want to ask, is that in terms of the achievements of CORD in Nairobi, which is the government of the day, is that it has achieved absolutely nothing, and the Kenyan public knows that. When you look at the central government, we have achieved much of what we have said in our manifesto, with some few limitations as a result of
Charles,
Okay,
that's
quickly so that we
yeah,
move
you
on.
can just see the stark difference, very, very stark difference in the details. Yeah, I've been able to sit here and say what are the 7 things that NASA will do. I can sit here and tell you the 7 things that we said we'd do for Nairobi in 2013 and what we have done with each one of them. We've asked Mheshimiwa Yusuf Hassan, what are the things Jubilee said they'd do and what have they done? He has no clue.
No,
he has not
that's
given
not true.
anything. All he said is, we had a manifesto, we've implemented, we have a manifesto, we have implemented. He has said absolutely nothing. He says Nairobi is a failure. I can tell him all the 7 things we said we are going to do and what we did out of all the 7 of them, and some of them have said.
The Jubilee government,
the
Jubilee government promised to buy laptops for youngsters.
You see, you even know, but he doesn't know.
They have done it.
But he doesn't know.
Give credit where it's
They have done it well.
We just asked him.
You know,
But
Charles,
Mheshimiwa, they have.
Charles, let me tell you.
Haven't they? Are you telling me in your constituency none of the
Let
children
me
have
tell
received these gadgets?
We have a
No. None of the children have received these
I
gadgets?
think in 2 schools, Homa Bay Primary when Matiang'i was coming.
So they have.
And another one called Arunda.
So they have.
Now, that is out of 94 primary schools.
But what he said is that
free maternity.
what he said is that
so
some
roads,
we have.
yes.
Yeah, 2 out of 94 is what percentage? I mean, give him that. You can give it. The problem we've had with Jubilee is the problem of too much rhetoric that they blame us for. Let me tell you, Yusuf, this thing you are calling free primary schools electrification project ended when Keter left in my constituency. No single primary school in Homa Bay town constituency has electric power. And imagine it is donor funded, it's a whole 37 billion by donors. Not government funded.
And
you remember
the contradictions.
If you don't have schools electrified, and in a scheme wholly supported by donors, simply because you believe the people of Homa Bay or Luo Nyanza are in the opposition. Remember, whether it is a debt or otherwise.
More roads have been built in opposition areas than,
Is it? Where?
Yes.
Where?
Every part of Kenya, in Western Kenya, in Nyanza, the president has been out there.
Tell us at least 2 roads.
In Coast region, the president has been out every every month opening.
Launching things up to 3 times. The
new
same
roads,
project.
new roads.
Charles,
free maternity has been implemented. The electrification project is one of the biggest. We have more than doubled the number of
Senator
people.
Halwale came here and he said his house was listed as one of the houses that has been elected.
Charles, let me help
true.
Yusuf. Your government has been getting statistics from people in offices. You remember there was a complaint about the number of houses electrified, for instance. The data coming from KPLC. And
we need to wrap this up.
What you need to do, tell the president and his leadership, including you, to stop reading what your propagandists are spewing outside there and go to the ground. The more you speak these non-existent things, by the way, you annoy the voters more. And you may only have your chance to meet them on 8th of August, when it may be too late. Go down and check the reality on the ground.
Fair enough. 70% of the people you are sitting with in the National Assembly will not have a chance to push their agenda to Wananchi on 8th of August. This happens at a time when on Tuesday you're going back, that's tomorrow, you're going back to the Assembly with very pertinent issues. What's your take? How do you think it's going to pan out? I know I have lost. I'm disinterested. How is this going to work out?
If they are true,
shouldn't we just have dissolved Parliament now?
No. If they are true leaders, then they should not be disinterested. They have to continue running through their course of their contract, which is until the August 8th. So they still have a duty for representation. They still have a duty for legislation. They still have a duty for oversight. So I'd expect the MPs who are true leaders to continue their duties, their national duties. Especially so, what even matters more than the MPs are the governors who've lost in the nominations. They still have governments to run. They still have services.
And they have money allocated.
They still have money allocated. I'd expect those, if they are true leaders, that they must continue being governors and serving the people who elected them for a 4-year, 8-month contract and complete that.
Mheshimiwa Hassan.
Well, I think democracy works in certain ways, and the primaries are part, and the nominations are part of our democratic process. And people have made their choices the way they have made. And I think members of parliament should respect the fact that, in fact, yesterday they were brought in by the same people, and today the same people are saying no. And so we should continue our work as usual to fulfill our obligations until Parliament closes down, and allow the Kenyan public to decide who their next leaders is on the 8th of August. Yes.
Mheshimiwa Kaluma, your take on your colleagues.
Charles, under the previous constitutional regime, at a time like this, Parliament would have been dissolved. But of course, we removed the idea of dissolution of Parliament, so that the current Parliament is, proceeding with work up to 8th of August. Actually, the other Parliament will just be stepping in as it walks, out through the gate. So that is, why this thing becomes debatable. The fact of the matter is that it is very difficult to work in an environment where everybody from your colleagues to the staff working there are seeing you as a person not coming back. It is a limitation to your work. If you psychologically, and even in terms of long term, the length of period it takes to process a bill. If you had views of policy you want to legislate in terms of private members' bills, you cannot imagine, preparing them now. Unlike, Yusuf and I, who can, continue thinking of the legislative agenda for the country in terms of these issues.
You're speaking, Mheshimiwa, like you're already in Parliament.
I mean, I know the people of Homa Bay love me. They will come back, because I've been doing my work in terms of seeing.
Remember at the beginning you talked about an anti-establishment wave.
I don't know, but if you sit on an ivory tower, I think in the manner I've been seeing, some of the people here, then you lose. But Kaluma is a person who will speak here. He goes down to Homa Bay and you cannot know he's an MP. He's with these people at their level. That is why I was telling Bana, Mweke, to roll up his sleeves. Go now and mingle. Go now and mingle and tell them what
he was in.
So what we are doing.
Mukuru kwa Njenga?
Yes.
Yeah, I spent.
But if you are in Mukuru kwa Njenga in a suit like this.
But who told you I was in a suit?
Yes.
Told you
he changes. Let me go back to the topic, Charles.
Yeah.
There will obviously be a limitation. And then psychological torture. Yusuf will tell you that Parliament has very few people currently. And mainly there are people who are lucky with the Kenyans to be given these nominations. So that will to come, Parliament is going to be affected in terms of quorum fundamentally. And I can tell you, for constitutional bills like the two-third gender rule, which I said was a very progressive determination coming from the High Court, we are going to have an obvious challenge.
Sadly, the initiator, Priscilla Nyokabi, did not...
a very painful thing. I would have wished most of, these Jubilee MPs go home, but not Priscilla Nyokabi. I've sat.
Do you think the president, as the party leader, should have done something?
Yes, so what they did to Honorable Chepkonga would have saved, this, great...
Did your party leader do that?
Lady. No, he didn't. He decided to get detached.
So why do you want the president to do it and your party leader not?
That is why I'm never a believer, by the way, Charles, in these things we call party primaries by, members' elections. Kenya is a multi-party democracy. Through party nominations, a party assembles its team to compete with other parties. So this thing that you have people voting at party primaries, then they vote at elections. Sometimes, of course, may give us the challenge of denying people. You see the difficulties Honorable Jakoyo Midiwo is in now. You see the difficulties Chepkonga was in now. You see what we are discussing in terms of Priscilla, Nyokabi. You see the challenges being given to Honorable, John Mbadi in court. And let me thank Honorable John Mbadi, because he has said, if you want to repeat, let us go and repeat. It is now the people who challenge this way who are now saying there should be no repeat. But it's on the ground campaigning. And let me say it is so gracious. But for our political party, I want to say Honorable John Mbadi was not treated right. This is a national chair. If you went out and explained to the people that we need him to help us with policy and campaign issues.
Mheshimiwa, are we executing something that is before the court of law?
No, it is coming for ruling. I'm talking about unfairness.
And your statements could influence the judgment.
No, certainly not. We have not talked about the legal issues there. But I think we must mature, Charles, as I wind up this, and look at where mature democracies the world over are. If you went to the US, other than nomination of the president in which people participate, you don't hear them talking about senators and MPs.
And no people participate, it's the delegates.
Correct. A party sits down and says who is strong enough to win for us, and they do opinion survey.
And seniority is taken into consideration.
Correct.
So that's what Kenya should do?
You go to the entire Europe. That is the way. A party will assemble its MPs and send these MPs to face the MPs for the other side, and they win government, they form government. There is something for everybody. I think we are over-obsessed with this idea of burdening the citizenry with voting at all these things.
We need to wind up. I'll give each of you a chance, maybe a minute, to say something, your plans ahead for the week and the rest. But as I start with you, Jonathan, I am pained that you people are cutting down trees around Kangemi. Why are you cutting down trees, or are you planting an alternative forest?
Westlands.
When trees are cut down, they're either cut down for expansion of the road, like we did on Gong Road and like we are doing on James Gishuru Road, so that you can expand the road. And we have a policy that you cut down one tree, you plant two.
Fair enough. So you people are planting trees somewhere else?
So we are planting trees somewhere else, or even in the same place. It's just for infrastructure development and expansion.
How far is the case, the tree, the centennial tree that was cut on, I am so passionate about trees, City Park, to put up billboards?
We brought down that billboard. It was cut without our knowledge. Every time a tree is to be cut, there must be a permit from our environment department. We did censure the advertiser who cut that tree without our knowledge in the middle of the night to put up their billboard, and we did remove that billboard the very next day. So we care very, very deeply about our environment, and we are not going to allow anybody to distract our environment unless it's planned for. And if it's planned for, there must be an alternative on where you're going to replenish what you've already cut off.
Your final words?
My final words is just to tell and plead with my brothers and sisters in the House that they've now been given the responsibility by the government, although I'd have thought it would be a policy issue, but they've gone to take it to legislation, to do whatever they can and see whatever recommendations they can put forward to ensure that the cost of living is able to come down, that our people can be able to afford food, can be able to afford transport to go to work, and can be able to afford the very basics such as school fees and such as rent. It's very important for us If that doesn't happen soon, we're going to have a very, very big crime wave that all of us will not be able to handle once it happens. So prevention is better than cure. The opposition has been clever enough to shout about this for the last 1 month. The government has heard the shouts, and we hope they come up with a solution to ensure that they cushion the good people of this country from these very, very harsh times.
Thank you very much. Mheshimiwa Yusuf Hassan, your final one.
Well, I also want to add my voice to the issue of the food prices. Let me say that let's not politicize this issue. Food prices affect every Kenyan, regardless of their political affiliation, ethnicity, or region. And therefore, we in Parliament must work together to make sure that we help the central government, we help our businesses to bring down the cost of living and to make basic commodities like unga, milk, sugar more affordable to the ordinary mwananchi.
Thank you very much. Mheshimiwa Kaluma.
Yeah, the matter of food prices is a matter of life and death. And, you know, my empathies and sympathies with the families who have lost, you know, other Kenyans due to lack of food and basic needs. Mine would be to say that the Jubilee government cannot solve, you know, these problems of cost of living, food prices, and all these other issues. Indeed, the Jubilee administration is the problem. Let me tell the people of Kenya that you have the solution in your own hands. And be very watchful, be very guarded in terms of even the temporal, you know, solutions we are going to proffer. On 8th of August, collate all the challenges the nation has faced and make a good decision for this country.
Thank you very much. I don't want to be a politician who once said rains do not come from the trees, they come from the sky. I know rains come from the trees, and I know trees in an environment play a critical role in ensuring that we do not have the kind of situation we have now. Stop and think for a moment. If we had enough trees, our environment would be different. The level of poverty in this country would be way lower than what we're experiencing now. And I am sure we would be living in a very conducive atmosphere. My plea to the opposition and the government, as you go about your campaigns, just try and push people to plant trees before you start your rallies and tell us all the lies and all the facts. Thank you very much to my panelists. Mheshimiwa Jonathan Mweke, Deputy Governor, Nairobi County. Mheshimiwa Yusuf Hassan, Member of Parliament for Kamukunji, and Mheshimiwa Peter Opondo Kaluma, Member of Parliament for Homa Bay Town. My name is Charles Odhiambo. We do this again some other time. I leave you with Carlos and the band.